Welcome to the Creative Career Center podcast series. I'm Brian Young, content curator for Entrepreneur's Creative Career Center. In this episode, we'll be interviewing Mike Dorner, one of the winners of our creative ad Open Call. Very nice to meet you, Mike, and welcome to our podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's our pleasure as well. So, would you take a moment to tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of being a creator?
Yeah, I think I've always had a creative mindset, but as I've learned, being creative isn't really a talent. It's more of a thinking process. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned over my entire career of learning how to work with others and collaborating in the artistic field. So it's just been a long journey ever since about high school that I got into the creative space and learning that art is really just a hobby for me. And the fact that I'm doing it in my free time and the fact that it's something that I enjoy so much is really a big reason why I should make it my career and focus on that. And I think that's what anyone should do going into whatever it is they enjoy in their daily life. Do what is actually going to keep you in a positive mindset throughout your whole life, honestly.
Absolutely agree and absolutely love it. And positivity is super key, especially in being a creator and creating some artwork, which I happen to love yours. Yours is super fantastic, and I want to dive in a little bit more about that in a few. But how does your passion for music and art intersect?
Pretty clear we all know that, music is an art form, and one of the biggest things that I've realized between music and other forms of art like design, analog art styles, is just that both music and art are ever evolving, especially through our society and just throughout history. They kind of go hand in hand with any creative field. So whenever I'm doing artwork, and even though it's two-dimensional or three-dimensional, but it's a visual form, I'm always listening to music and always trying to interpret that into what I'm doing. And it's a big influence for me and has been a big part of my career, especially earlier on, because that's kind of where I got my start, just doing album artwork and single artwork for up and coming artists who really didn't have a huge budget but wanted to have someone that could support them because I was also looking for an avenue to create. So it was just a perfect mix for me. And I think it's just kind of beautiful when artists can collaborate to create something amazing, even though that their talents are in different fields.
Super cool. Would you say that music is the reason you got into arts and being a creator?
I think it's definitely what kickstarted being a graphic designer. I've had, a lot of time to engage in music creation as a hobby for sure, but it's essentially what kickstarted my passion for graphic design because I was constantly obsessing over album design and seeing how fluid that art style can be and that there aren't really any rules to that. So being able to dive deeper into that is what really got me interested in the graphic design world. And seeing how musicians curate their artwork is so fascinating to me. So that's definitely what kickstarted my passion for graphic work. But yeah, absolutely. Music is a huge part of my life. And I assume that it's a big part of anybody's that is doing creative work.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that music is integral in being a creator and the creative process. I mean, I know that I get inspired by certain types of music or certain lyrics, and I just kind of run with whatever it is that I'm feeling at the moment, which is truly passion.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, currently, even at my job now, every day in the office, we are constantly playing music, whatever's new. Every Friday, Spotify, wherever new music is coming out, we are constantly blasting it so that we can have our juices flowing for sure.
Amazing. Amazing. What does it mean to you to be an entrepreneur? I know we're kind of bringing together the art world and the business world and being an entrepreneur. What does that mean to you?
Well, so I thought about that, and I think it's truly about being open minded. And especially since a lot of what people chase nowadays with their art is trying to make a living as well. And being open minded and also collaborating as much as possible has been one of the biggest rewards for me in terms of finding out what is actually useful and working in the art world. So there are a lot of artists that work alone and focus on whatever their craft is, but something that is so important today, and I think it always has been to collaborate with others and to open your mind to whatever other opinions are out there so that you aren't bogged down in one linear path. I think going about whatever you want to create should have some influence with other people. So that's also important when it comes to networking too, so that you can find avenues to pursue maybe in a business that you didn't even think existed before. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice is just being open minded and open to collaboration.
Absolutely should be open minded to networking, to creativity, to anybody's input, and collaboration is absolutely key. And being open is the key to collaboration because a good idea can come from anywhere and from anyone.
That's exactly right. It's probably one of the biggest things I've noticed for sure.
Totally, totally. Shifting back for a second to your art, I know the pieces that you submitted for Open Call were amazing. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask after taking a look at your pieces is what do you want your art to say? Like when you strive to create, what is it that you want to say? Is it something that's an underlying theme? Is it just what hits you in the moment? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting question because I've never truly asked myself that until now, but I think it kind of just goes back to wanting to make sure that my work says I'm ever changing, just going back to that whole idea of like music and art, just making sure that people can see that I'm not just one voice and that I work with other people and that whatever I'm creating has a lot of different flavors to it. And it's not necessarily just saying one thing, but that it's very diverse and includes a lot of different input from other people. So that's why I like to use a lot of photographers' work in my pieces. So I'll work with local artists, people from across the country, people that send me messages over social media and things like that, that want to work with me just because they see that there's a lot of opportunity to combine forces. And I would say that a big piece of my work is a huge collage. It's not necessarily one signature style that I have. I do use a somewhat minimal and colorful palette for sure, but it's always different and there's never necessarily the same kind of elements used twice. So that's just what my work centers around is just being diverse and going back to that idea of open collaboration and being open minded. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And going off of that and open collaboration, is the open collaboration truly inspiring for you, or what do you find that inspires you the most to actually be creative and to create something?
It's just an excitement for being able to meet people. One of the biggest things that I find enjoyment from in life, and it's just outside of work, outside of whatever I'm doing, is spending time with friends, family, and meeting new people. And anyone should be open to engaging in that kind of mindset where the kind of daily activities that they engage in should be people forward and human forward. And trying to create positive relationships. There's a lot of divide in society currently, and there has been throughout time. So it's important for people to always have that ambition to be kind to each other. And that's kind of been my driver as well, is aside from just trying to create very cool looking art, I hope that it's mainly about the process and creating it itself. So it's actually the best part is for me is that process where you're actually working together. And then if I'm lucky, then the results are cool too.
Absolutely. Your results are totally cool for sure. You know, we definitely consider you to be an entrepreneur. And coming off of the Creative Ad Open Call campaign and our tagline, Entrepreneurs Start Here, where would you suggest other creatives begin their careers?
Oh, as soon as possible. Absolutely. I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about, but I feel like my career did start when, I was in high school. And I don't consider myself to be an early starter, but looking back, to be an entrepreneur is having that ambition and drive and applying it to whatever you're doing. And people should think back about the first time that they found something that they loved and that they're passionate about. For me, that was in high school, and I took 2 graphic design classes. Shout out to Mr. Schmidt at Lincoln High School, because that was one of the first moments that I found graphic design to be something I'm so passionate about and something that I do in my free time. And I actually initially went to school for film to study in college. I went for film, but I was doing graphic work in my free time. So I asked myself, what is it that I want to actually be doing with my career? So I stopped doing film and I wanted to do what I was really doing as a hobby, which was graphic work. So that's what I would recommend is anyone that wants to pursue their creative field to start as early as you can. If that's in school, amazing. If that's after school, there's no real deadline, but the earlier the better.
I love it. I always say that if you find a passion, go after it. And even if it's later in life, it's never too late to start and follow your passions and express yourself and just let your creativity flow and just become a true creator. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I have friends and other people, army vets, for example, that have, gone and served for our country and then come back and then started their graphic or their creative career or music career, whatever it's been. There's no wrong time to start.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. What would you say is the most challenging aspect of being an entrepreneur and a creator?
Yeah, well, the fact that there are a lot of conflicting opinions out there. I think anytime that I've worked on a really interesting creative campaign or even just small projects with people that I anticipated would be really seamless and easy, there's always going to be some conflict of interest or differing opinions. And I think that probably one of the biggest challenges to try and overcome through open-mindedness, going back to that whole idea of keeping your mind open to other opinions and not having that tunnel vision. And so keeping that mindset is really important so that you don't run into the same kind of challenges over and over again. I think that's going to make your creative process so much easier. And it's also just going to foster much better relationships with those who you work with so that they will work with you again.
Totally. Would you say that those challenges have taught you one of the greatest lessons as an entrepreneur is being open minded and remembering to be open minded and being mindful of other people?
Absolutely. I think more than ever, it's important to have our ambitions be human focused and to appreciate people, even though you may think that their initial opinions are outlandish or just outright wrong. You have to put yourself in other people's shoes and come from their perspective for a little bit. There's definitely been times where even after doing that I've still said, okay, there's still no way, that I've tried to be collaborative, I've tried to be open-minded, but it's still just not working. And that's okay. At least if you can try, that's what's most important. At least try to show them that you can be very willing to work and put your best foot forward in all that you guys are trying to do together.
Completely. I always say, as long as you try, you're not failing. I mean, there's going to be road bumps and there's going to be roadblocks and speed bumps. Sorry, not road bumps, but there's going to be things that get in the way and you're going to slip up every now and then, but that's okay. It's just about making a conscious effort to be better and better yourself in whatever way you're looking to do it. I love that. And then speaking on the individual level for a minute, and I think I have a gauge on your answer here, but how important do you feel creativity is in the life of an individual, be it you, be it a friend, be it another entrepreneur, or somebody who's coming up in the world right now?
There's a great speech that John Cleese gave, and I recommend anybody to go and watch this speech. But people should really not be discouraged by thinking that they are not creatively talented, because, as I said before, and as John Cleese says, creativity is not a talent, it's a way of thinking. And to keep that in the back of your head is crucial, because if you're ever running into roadblocks or creatively frustrated, it's just so valuable to remind yourself that the process you're going through is just very human and it's very normal. And anybody who's trying to develop their creativity is going to go through the exact same struggles. Some people might have it come to them a little bit easier just because of the fact that they've spent more time in that creative process. but it's still not a talent that you should be discouraged by. So I think that's one of the biggest things to keep in mind for sure.
That's a super amazing tip. And I think I've actually heard that speech by John Cleese before. So I totally align with that and your thought pattern for that. That actually leads me to another question for you. Coming up as a creator, as an artist, and moving forward, do you believe that there are enough resources to help creatives in their careers out there in the world?
I think what's incredible and something that I've been fortunate to experience is just how much technology is evolving. And there's still, a beauty in the old techniques and resources that we've gotten to experience over time. But I would say that since we are constantly evolving and constantly elaborating what our limitations are, we're expanding what our limitations are rather to what we can create. There's so many unfathomable different technologies that I'm learning about every day. And it's so inspiring to think that there are just people out there developing and working hard to make these tools even easier to use. I think back to the early days of graphic work and the analog style of cut and paste and paste up and
That's yep.
before Photoshop, right? It's just kind of crazy to see how much more accessible creation has become.
No, I totally agree. It's amazing to see how far graphic design and the art has come. I mean, like you said, it's going back from paste up to everything is digital now, and it's just an amazing transformation or evolution to see and be a part of.
Right? Tools that used to take years of learning now are accessible through children on iPads. And it's encouraging, but it's also daunting because it just goes to show you how much potential there is for things to completely radically change too. So I'm curious to see what happens.
Same. I'm curious as well to see what the future lies. I know it's going to be intriguing, and I know I'm going to be wide eyed and eager to learn all of it. And that's kind of what we're embracing here at Entrepreneur. It's really creating a creative career center so creators can have a space to learn, to collaborate, to grow together, and use the resources within the industry that we're striving to put together in one place. This was an amazing conversation, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us on the Creative Career Center podcast and for sharing your art with us. We are extremely excited to see you continue creating and hope to collaborate and connect again soon in the future.